It was a quiet town, the kind where everyone knew everyone else. Nothing strange ever happened, or so it seemed. Sophie, a young woman in her mid-30s, found herself drawn to an old house on the outskirts of town. At first glance, it was everything she had ever dreamed of. A fixer-upper, with plenty of character and charm. But what Sophie didn't know was that this house had a secret, a dark secret, buried deep beneath its foundation.
Whisper to your ear.
Act 1. A rundown old house. The house stood alone, overgrown with vines, as if it had been forgotten by time. Sophie couldn't resist. It was perfect, a project she could pour her heart into, and with it, the chance to escape the noise of the world. Sophie stepped inside for the first time, the smell of old wood and dust hitting her nostrils. The house groaned and creaked with age, but there was something oddly comforting about it. Something that seemed to welcome her, but at the same time, something felt off. A strange tension hung in the air, like the house was, watching her, waiting. Act 2. A scraping noise. The first few days were fine. Sophie busied herself with cleaning, clearing out the junk, and planning renovations. But then, on the fourth night, something happened. It was subtle at first. A low scraping noise, like something dragging across the floor. Sophie thought it was the house settling, or maybe a rodent scurrying through the walls. But as the sound grew louder that night, Sophie realized it wasn't a rodent. It was something else. She woke to the sound of scratching again. It came from the basement. At first, she tried to ignore it, but the noise persisted, growing more distinct with each passing minute. Her pulse quickened, and her heart thudded in her chest. Act 3. Down to the basement. Unable to resist, Sophie grabbed her flashlight, stepped out of bed, and made her way to the basement door. The basement door creaked loudly as Sophie turned the handle, and she froze for a moment, staring into the thick darkness. The air smelled musty and stale. She hesitated, her breath shallow, but the curiosity was stronger than her fear. She stepped into the basement. The flashlight beam cut through the thick shadows, revealing nothing more than boxes and old furniture piled up in the corners. It was silent now. The scraping noise was gone, but then something caught her eye. Act 4. The hidden door. At the far corner of the room, behind a pile of dusty old boxes, Sophie noticed a small door. It was hidden, almost like it was trying to stay out of sight. But there it was. The door didn't look like it belonged. It was rusted, old, and unnervingly out of place. She approached it cautiously, her fingers trembling as she touched the handle. It didn't budge at first, but with a little force, it creaked open. Behind that door was something Sophie never expected to find. It was a small room, pitch black at first, but as she stepped inside and flicked on her flashlight, her eyes widened in shock. The room was filled with old photographs, yellowed with age. Piles of them scattered across the floor, stuck to the walls, some even stuck in the cracks of the floorboards. But the most disturbing thing? Every photo was of the house and of a man. Act 5. Behind the hidden door. The man in the photographs had a face full of desperation, his eyes wide, his fingers pressed against the glass of the window, as if he was trying to escape. Sophie's breath caught in her throat. The man looked familiar. But why? As she moved deeper into the room, she found more photos. Some of the house from years ago, and others, well, more recent. Some even featured Sophie. She had no idea how the man had captured those moments, but it was clear. This was no coincidence. As Sophie sifted through the photos, she began to feel it, the cold presence behind her. She spun around, but there was nothing there. The room was empty, but that was when she heard it, the same scraping noise. Only now it was closer, much closer. Act 6. A fear comes closer. Her flashlight flickered as the noise grew louder, unmistakable now. Someone, or something, was in the room with her. Sophie's heart hammered in her chest as she spun around again, the beam of her flashlight frantically searching the space. Nothing, but the air grew thick. And then, from the corner of her eye, Sophie saw it. A figure. A man. Standing in the doorway. The man from the photographs. Alive. Standing right there in the doorway, his eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that sent a chill down her spine. But Sophie couldn't scream. Her throat tightened as she tried to move, but her legs wouldn't obey. She stood frozen as the man took a step forward. His breath was ragged, his clothes tattered, as if he had been living here for years. Act 7. Desperate escape. She bolted from the basement, stumbling over her own feet as she sprinted up the stairs. The sound of footsteps echoed behind her, growing louder, closer, until she slammed the basement door shut. Sophie didn't stop. She grabbed her phone, calling the local police, her hands shaking as she told them everything. They didn't believe her, of course. How could they? No one ever did. But the worst part, the house was quiet again. The man had disappeared. Sophie thought maybe, just maybe, it had all been a nightmare. But when she looked at the photographs once more, she saw something new. There, in the corner of the most recent photo, was her. Her face, frozen in terror, taken from the shadows. And in the background, the man, his face twisted in a grin. No one knows what happened to Sophie after that night. She vanished without a trace. The house, however, still stands. And to this day, people who buy it, they're never heard from again. Some say it's the house itself, cursed and hungry for its next victim. But others, well, they believe it's the man in the basement. He's still there, waiting for someone to walk through that door. And when you do, he'll be watching you too. If you ever find yourself walking by an old house, just remember, some doors should never be opened. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button, subscribe for more nightmares, and share with someone brave enough to watch alone. See you in Monday.